Thank you so much for your attentiveness, and I really appreciate your feedback. By the way, some people were asking about Tim's PowerPoint, and so I've texted him. I don't think it would be a problem, but when he sends it to me, what I'll do is I'll just have Joni send it out to everybody, so you have it on hand. And I'm going to see, too, I mean, I don't want to put the cart before the horse because I haven't even talked to AdCom, but I think there were so many gems in what he had to share. I'm going to talk to AdCom to see how we might be able to share that with the pastors, too. I mean, it would be, obviously, if we're talking about both of us working together as a team, they don't know what they don't know since they haven't heard the presentation. So, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and have prayer, and then I'm going to introduce Dedre to you. Before we do that, Bob Van Orman, he came up to me right before the program ended to say that there was a former teacher that used to work in this conference that is very ill. So we wanted to include her in the prayer, but Bob wanted to just share a little bit.
How many of you remember Elaine Chryssikos? Okay, a few of you do. Elaine taught at Richmond Academy for several years. I had the opportunity to work with her for the 4 years that I was there. I got a text this morning in the meeting that her husband is going in for brain surgery. And not only that, but there are spots on the liver, pancreas, and spine. So she is, she's a wonderful lady. And for anybody to have to deal with something like this, they need to have the presence of God. They need to know He's there. And for that, I would hope that we would pray continually, because each one of us have been there or know other people. And it's just knowing that God's there. It's not whatever happens is up to God, but it's the presence that we need to know. Let's bow our heads. Father in heaven, You're an amazing person. The way that You treat us, the way that You take care of us, the way that You guide us. It's important to realize just how much it costs You to see sin in this world and what You want to do to get rid of it. And right now we're lifting up Elaine and her husband Jim. They are in a situation that it's scary. And the bottom line is that You want us to know that You're there. That's been always Your signature. I am with You. And for we ask right now that You will be with her, Jim, and the doctors, that Your will be done, and that we will know that You are there. We ask in Jesus' name, amen.
I have talked to a few of you and have shared. When I worked with the Pacific Union Conference, they hosted something called Differentiated Instruction in Vegas, staff development for educators, and their headquarters is in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And I actually talked to the lady. I thought it would be great, because we would go to Vegas and do that, and the joke was, if you won something in the slots, just pay tithe and everything works out. And so we just had a great time as administrators or teachers. It would basically run the week. And it was so fun. I think we did Bellagio or the Venetian. And it was fantastic. And you had all of these gifted individuals who had come, their particular disciplines, to share. And I thought it would be great to bring that expertise to the Potomac Conference. So today and tomorrow are two breakout sessions. I'm going to introduce Dedre. Dedre Stafford has consented to come and share with you. And so I thought that this would be great. And she was gracious. I asked her, I said, if you wouldn't mind coming to the first in service, so she could hear what Tim had to share and dovetail it into her presentation as well. And she was gracious to do that. So we're so thankful for that. I know that in the program, it gave her whole bio. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I would like to share a little bit about her again, just in case you didn't read it. But she's passionate. Dedre is a passionate educator with a belief in the power of positive, personal, purposeful teaching. Her goal is to play a small part in helping educators find and keep their joy for education while gaining new strategies and skills to reach today's learners. Known for her practical, easy-to-use implementation ideas, Dedre gets teachers engaged and ready to try new ideas. The training she provides is centered around research-based practices and solid pedagogy. We are really blessed to have her here. I know you'll share where you're from, but it's not from around here. So we're so thankful that she's here, that she's going to share, and she is going to invite, and I just thought I'd throw it out there to begin with. She wants us to be interactive. You know, we're teachers. We love the idea that we learn by asking questions and doing things. And so we're so happy to have you here. And we just want to give you a warm Potomac welcome. So let's welcome Dedre, please.
How are you guys? Let me adjust here for just a second. Probably not appropriate. Wow, the magic. I am so excited to be here, and I'm so excited that I got to hear Pastor Tim speak. He was great, wasn't he? So he said so many good things, and I was taking it all in and thinking, oh, yes, 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 yes. One of the things that really spoke to me today was he said that we needed to take our shoes off and do the work of God. And I thought, oh, I get to work in my bare feet today. And then I realized it was probably not as specific as I should have been. But he did say some great things, and I am excited to be here. I'm from Oklahoma. And, well, not this week. This week I'm from here in Ohio. Wherever, the plane takes me is where I go. But I am thrilled to be here to work with you guys today. And so many things that he said I know resonated with each of you. And I work with teachers every day, and my job is to hand you the tools. I think he gave you the passion, he spoke to the calling, and I want to work with you and give you the tools. One of the things he said was honesty. And so I thought, when he said that, it really struck me that I should just lay it out here for you. That I worked in a public school. And so I was not as blessed as you are to have the freedom to do the things that God calls you to do in the classroom. And so with that, I wanted to acknowledge that so that you didn't think that somehow I had actually stepped into your classrooms and taught in that environment. But I do work with teachers every day in all environments, and my job is to give you the tools to be as successful as you can be doing the content piece. I love that Pastor Tim said that we are not teaching subjects, we're teaching students. And I think we're all in the same work there of growing students into the very best they can be, both educationally and spiritually. And I hope that the tools that I give you in this next hour and 15 minutes, that you can take back with you, because yes, I'm all about practical. So Pinterest and teacher pay teacher kind of stuff, I want to make it easy for you to go back and be successful, because it's hard to remember that it's your calling when kids are stressing you out, right? You come in with the calling, and then you just have that worn look on your face, right? After a few groups of kids. And I do know you guys are teachers, because as I was standing at the front trying to greet you guys, I realized that the candy dish had one piece of candy in it. Teachers will take everything from a conference. You do know that, right? Last candy. Somebody was going to get this if I didn't grab this bowl. And then there was another bowl next to it. That was empty, too. There were some pins up there. I know they'll be gone by tomorrow. And there was paper, because you guys will take everything in the name of the students, right? I have been into public schools for over 20 years, and I've worked with teachers in all aspects. I've written a couple of books, and we're going to talk about some of those this week, tomorrow, and today. But today we're going to focus on classroom management. And the reason we're going to do that is because I kind of believe it's the foundation for success, that if you can't manage a class, you can't teach them. You can't even talk to them about your faith if you can't manage them, right? They don't come in like they come into church, ready to listen and learn. Well, some days, but some days not so much, right? So the goals today, these are our goals, but more than anything, this session is what you make it. Look at the person next to you and say, this session is what you make it. So I'm going to encourage you to ask me questions. This is not a presentation that I kill you by bullet points. right? There will be some things up there you can look at, but my job is to interact with you. Just like when you teach your kids, if they all smile and nod and look forward, you don't know what they know. It makes you feel really good. But you don't know if they've applied it. You don't know if they can put it in their situation. So I encourage you to ask me questions, to interrupt me, to add on to. Sometimes the presentation will take a whole different turn based on the audience interaction I get. And sometimes I can be done in 15.2 minutes, depending on what you're doing. No, if you don't ask questions, we're not getting out in 15 minutes. So don't get any ideas. So look at the person next to you and tell them one thing kids are doing that drive you crazy. I know. I get it. After summer, when you got to relax, pray, breathe, sleep in, go to the bathroom when you wanted to, right? All those freedoms of summer. Then you came back in August and you were like, I love children, right? But then now, right? That summer feeling has worn off just a little bit. So I get it. It's real. And this walk is hard. This is a calling. No one should be in this job for summers off. I heard Pastor Tim say that your job is hard and you work every day. Well, you have summers off. And I heard somebody go, no, we don't. No, we don't. I always tell them it's comp hours. Like if you took the hours in the evening or the morning that we were prepping and working and you added them up, we could have the 3 months off. It's comp hours. So we've worked all those hours, I promise you. So we're a little tired. In fact, some of you are just excited to be here for 2 days because you don't have to eat in 12 minutes, right? Like you guys had an hour for lunch. I'm sure you were through and you're like, what do we do now? Right? And somebody goes, go to the bathroom. So it's like unbelievable just to have a 2-day break. It's going to give you a different look at the kids. I wouldn't have to say anything magical today. And you would go back to the school with a different outlook on kids, just being away for 2 days. Tap out, somebody else's problem. And then take those sub-plans that they all wrote up after you left. You know, Johnny did this 3rd hour. Just throw it in the trash. Don't let it ruin your mood. Don't let it ruin it. Okay, so let's talk about it. I was thinking about this when I was thinking about your group, especially because when I was getting on the plane yesterday, I stopped off in Dallas before heading here, and there were storms coming in, and people were frustrated because they were off for their week vacation to Disney World and Mexico and Florida and all the great places. And they were like, where are you going? And I was like, to work. Right? And it's a hard bus drive there and back every day, people. But I was thinking about the kids headed off to Disneyland. And I was thinking about the Disneyland, Disney World experience. Raise your hand if you've ever been. It's amazing, isn't it? I was thinking about that. And I was thinking about the people that work at Disney World. I mean, they're going to work, let's be real. You're going to a magical experience, they're going to work every day. But they walk in with a passion and energy as if it were their magical experience. Did you notice that? I mean, that guy, as you stood in the line, well, let's just talk about it. You walked through the gate and you paid $149.95. And then you and your 5 family members come in, and you stand in a line for an hour and 22 minutes to ride your ride. And when you finally get to the front, that person there greeting you says, "Welcome to the most magical ride in the kingdom. Step up, sit down, secure your belongings, keep your arms and your feet in the ride at all times. Are you ready to have a good time? Let's go." 90 seconds later, he starts over with the same enthusiasm as if that was the very first person he's greeting for the day. And it keeps you energized, doesn't it? You can stand in an hour and 22-minute line. You can walk all the way to the other side of the park to get the short line on the other ride. You can have your kids crying. You can drop a popsicle. You can lose your Mickey Mouse ears. But everyone around you is showering you with love and passion and enthusiasm. And that's their job. And that made me think about our jobs. Do we give our kids the Disney World experience to the magical place they get the honor of stepping into every day? And I thought about that because sometimes I'm tired. Been a lot of papers to grade. I drug that little bag full of papers back and forth to home, whether I opened it or not. And it's just one of those mornings. You can see it on my face. Do I give my kids the same passion and energy that Disney World gives? I also thought of it in relation to church. We come to church every Saturday. What if they greeted us like we do on Wednesday? "Hi, come on in, get seated, we'll get started. Did you bring your materials? Where's your stuff? Get your stuff out. Let's go, let's do this. I only have 52 minutes left." I don't think you'd be piling in the parking lot if that was your experience. So I started thinking about how we could have this experience and how we could give that energy, that passion, that blessing so that it's infectious to the kids. And I think the key to that is really these three things. The inside of a peanut M&M, where are my earth science teachers? Ever done the layers of the earth with the peanut M&M, right? Yeah, totally stole that from you. Inside of the peanut M&M, this is a success of a classroom. I think the core, the peanut, is classroom management. It's the rules and procedures that help you manage. Do I have any first-year teachers in this room? Stand up. Be proud. I know you're tired. Stand up. There we go. There we go. So I believe that first-year teachers need to be thinking about their peanut, thinking about their classroom management. My favorite was my sister became a teacher after I was a consultant, and she called me up and said, "I got my first job. What do I need to do?" And I said, "Well, you need to know your rules and procedures. You got to have that classroom management in place when you walk in the room." She goes, "How am I supposed to have rules and procedures when I've never taught before?" I said, "You fake it till you make it. That's what you do. Don't you walk in there all willy-nilly going, 'I love kids. We don't have rules and procedures yet.' You will be eaten alive. You better fake it till you make it." So first-year teachers are working on their classroom management. Where are my second and third-year teachers? Stand up. Woo! Your first year, you're in survival mode. You just walk in, you're just like, "I just got to make it through the day. Lord, help me." Right? And then, second year, you think you got it. And then all of a sudden, the floor moves, and you're like, "What?" And then you try to again. Third year, you're kind of like, "I think I'm going to get it. I'm going to do this." And That's when you're really getting your peanut solid. First, second, third year teachers. Now, I always have a teacher who's taught 27 years, and she says, I have 107 rules and procedures, but my children still do not behave. Okay, I got news for that lady. After peanut, there's something called the chocolate. The chocolatey layer that goes around the peanut is relationships. Look at the person next to you and say, it's about the chocolate. So, peanut is how you do it, but chocolate gets it to happen. It's the magic that makes everything better. Building relationships with kids is essential if you want them to hear what you are saying. So everything peanut and chocolate, peanut and chocolate, peanut and chocolate. And then comes the candy coating that goes around the outside. The candy coating that goes around the outside is the best practices. That's the differentiated instruction. That's the technology integration. That's the blended classrooms. That's just about any cool thing you've ever seen at a workshop and you think, ooh, I like that. But it will crumble and fail every time if your peanut and chocolate are not solid. And so I tell you this, first and second and third year teachers, for this reason. You're going to get a lot of initiatives coming from your principal, coming from different directions, coming from blogs, coming from a podcast, coming from a conference you go to, and you're thinking, I'm going to try that, and you try it and you fail, and you think, it's that thing. But really, it's because peanut and chocolate should be your focus for the first 3 years. Now, don't go back to your principal and go, I listened to this lady and she said peanut and chocolate, so I'm only doing classroom management and relationships. I'm not doing any of that fancy differentiated instruction stuff. No, you have to keep doing it because it's your job. But know that if you're having struggles with reading groups or anything, that it could possibly be because your peanut and chocolate are not solid yet. So I say that to you because that is the foundation of today, and I'm so excited that I get to talk all about classroom management in this hour and give you some of that solid peanut piece that will make it successful. So with that being said, I know who's in the room. We have K through 12th grade, am I right? Where are my K through 5th grade people? Stand up. Okay, you guys show them some love because you didn't want to do it. Okay, have a seat. I mean, they wipe noses, they button pants, they deal with the craziest things, and they are so sweet. Have you noticed? They laminate, they have cute font, they have cute clip art, everything is organized. And they won't do anything that I ask them to do until I say, begin. Now, where are my 6th, 7th, and 8th grade teachers? Stand up. Oh. Bless your crazy little hearts. I can make fun of you because I used to be you. I taught middle school for several years, and so I will repeat myself throughout the day for the middle school teachers specifically because they're just like their kids. You say something important and they go, what'd you say? So I will repeat myself for them. And then, where are my high school teachers? Stand up. 9 through 12. Oh. You guys are so smart. Have you ever noticed people always want to know what subject you teach because they want to know what you're smart in, right? Ooh, high school, what do you teach? Biology. So they know what you're smart in. Now, you know, high school teachers, they all brought something else to work on in case I suck. They did. You know it's true. Look at him, he's putting it away right now. Yeah.
You are good.
I know. I have worked with teachers for a long time. And depending on where I'm at in the room, they'll be doing either my stuff or their stuff, just like their high school kids that are in their classrooms. They learn this technique. They didn't come naturally with it. So what I'd like you to do for a second is just close your eyes. And I want you to remember what it was like to be the age of the kids you teach. So picture you right now at age 5 or 10 or 13 or 16, however old of the kids you teach, see yourself. What kind of school were you going to? Thanks for sharing, elementary teacher. What kind of school were you walking into? Who were your teachers? Do you remember the teacher that scared you? Do you remember the teacher that spoke to your heart? Do you remember the best part of your day? Do you remember the worst part of your day? Can you see who your best friend was? Okay, open your eyes. Now I do that, and some of us, over here, I was a good kid. It was a wonderful time. I love school. That's why you became a teacher. Because you could only get your stuffed animals to play school with you so long, you had to go get yourself some real students. Some of us, you were the one going, extra worksheets, I'll take them home. You had siblings and stuffed animals, didn't you? And you graded the papers for fun. Now just remember that when you're dragging that bag home tonight. It was fun, right? Some of us, that was not the most pleasant memory I just had you call up, right? You're like, to be 13 again, I did not love that time. That was not a pleasant experience. I only remember the mean teachers. I mean, there are lots of different viewpoints in here. Some of us thought we would never walk into school again once you graduated, and now it's your job. So all of us come here differently, but I wanted you to remember what it's like to be that age, because those are the kids that are sitting in your classroom. They have the same worries and fears, and usually they're compounded by times 10 because of the world we live in today. But teachers, we forget what's it like to sit there, because we are really invested in right here. You have rules, you have procedures, you have your 4 walls, you have the matching theme throughout the classroom. I'm talking to elementary teachers right now, but they have the matching theme, and they bought all the stuff from the dollar store, and they have systems and procedures, and you get so invested in that you forget what it's like to sit right there. You got to remember, when we ask them to do things, when you're 12, the only thing you can think about is, who am I going to sit by at lunch? Or why isn't my best friend talking to me? When you're 5, you're thinking, my shoe is untied and I can't tie it. And she's going to get mad if I ask her to do it because she's already tied it twice today. That's a true memory from my childhood. I'll just tell you this story, even though I don't really have time. As a child, I did not know how to tie my shoe as a kindergartner coming in, but we had circle time where she would read the See, Dick, Run books, which were so fun. And so for entertainment, I would untie my shoe. Then I would have to ask the teacher to tie it. She was not happy to tie it, so she tied it in a double knot. Guess what? My mother was not a morning person. You can see where this story is going. At night, I would slip my shoes off. The next morning, my mom was in a hurry because she's not a morning person. And to see that shoe tied in a double knot infuriated her. So I got it from both ends. It's a lot of stress for a 5-year-old. I don't remember a lot from my kindergarten years, but I remember the stress over the shoes. Because I'm thankful that I finally learned to tie my shoe, and I don't exactly know when. But you know, that teacher wasn't thinking what it's like from my side. She was thinking of the irritation of having to tie yet another kid's shoe. Magical experience. Disney World would not have a problem with tying my shoe. I'm just saying. So we got to remember what it's like to be your kids. So don't get so caught up in your rules and procedures you forget that. In fact, I challenge you to find a picture of yourself at the age of the kids that you are that you teach. And put it in your room. In fact, if you're brave, put it on your front door so kids can see it. I know some of you are like, no. If you're not that brave, put it by your desk or on your computer as a touchstone to just go, being 8's hard too. I mean, being 42 isn't no walk in the park, but being 8, that's the hardest year you've ever known, is being 8. So don't forget that. When I ask you to start your classroom off, I hope you shared yourself. What did you do to share you? I think it's important when we build relationships to let kids in. Back in the day when I went to school, the teacher was the all-knowing person. Now, this was pre-internet. Now, the babies in the room were like, what? There was a day without internet? Yes. Yes. Back in the day, before you went, WW what? The teacher had all the knowledge. And so you had to listen to the teacher because it was your only time to get the information. Now, if they don't hear you or listen to you, can they still learn your stuff? They can watch a cool guy blow stuff up and show it to them in a really fast-talking, entertaining way. They can print their own worksheets and grade them if they'd like, right? So kids need to know us. We can't build relationships till they know who you are. So look at the person next to you and tell them what you do to let kids know who you are. Go. If you have not done a very good job of this, if you're thinking your kids really don't know who you are, they know how you like the room, they know how your rules and procedures are, but they don't know you, then I'm going to tell you, you probably struggle with building relationships with kids. Because you can't have a relationship with kids until you get out from in front of the room and you talk to them eye to eye. You've got to be real with them. You got to talk to them. It's a great time to spread your faith, your message, your struggles, helping them see that you've walked the path and you survived too. And so it's going to be okay. I taught middle school. The reason I taught middle school is because in elementary you have to change your bulletin boards every time the wind blows. Oh, it's a new season. Oh, it's a new anything. So I taught middle school because they don't care if your bulletin boards change throughout the year. So I made a bulletin board that was all about me. I was so excited because it didn't need to change with the wind. It could be there all year. But I put pictures of my family up, my favorite sports teams, the beverage that I like to drink, not the alcoholic kind, the real ones. So snacks, like I like nerds, not people, but candies. I had my favorite dog, my dream car, my dream vacation. And do you know how crazy it is? But that was a conversation starter for a lot of kids. They would see my favorite team and they would love to give me heck about it. Or they would be looking at the bulletin board and they would see that I loved a certain kind of candy and they loved that certain kind of candy. And guess what? They bring you that candy. That works. You can only collect so much apple crap. You've got to have some other gifts, right? So, where are you building your relationships? You've got to get there. Do you know all your kids' names? Okay. Some of us are still struggling. Names are hard, but here's the thing. The first thing to building relationship is know somebody's name. So know their names. How many of you greet your kids at the door? How many of you have seen those videos of those teachers who greet their kids at the door? And they get to choose something and do something? I think it is so important if you're going to change that culture of your classroom, to start in that Disney World fashion where you are there smiling and greeting them. How many of you have ever had a bad morning? How many of you have ever sent your children off with not the best morning? I know, we're like, right? I've done the I'm sorry pizza for lunch. Bad morning. Remember, my mom didn't like mornings either. So if we are college educated and we know the tone of the morning sets the day, and we've sent our kids off with a bad morning, what do you think about the kids that are coming into your classroom? And then sometimes they melt down within the first 10 minutes of the hour, and we're like, I don't know what set him off. Well, he has a life outside this room, and things have happened before they get to you. It may not be that you said, open your workbook. It may be that may have been just the last straw for that child. So knowing that makes me a better educator. Getting to a position where I greet them to reset the tone. I can't fix what they're going through in the morning, but I can start the tone off in here as the best I can do. In fact, I did something called tap in, tap out in my classroom. And it was on the inside of the door. So my classroom door, this is my classroom. It opens like this. And on the inside of the door, I had a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I've even had younger teachers that teach younger kids do red hand, yellow hand, green hand. And I simply stood at the door, Harry Wong style. If you've ever read the book, that's what you're supposed to do. And I greeted the kids and I said, just simply tap in on what kind of day you're having. 5, I'm having a great day. 3, 2 and 1, not so good. Now, I didn't stop, take roll, take them off to the counselor's office, sit down and say, do we need to pray? I just simply looked and noticed and filed it. If that kid who tapped in at a 2 can't seem to find a pencil, I just casually slip them a pencil. That's building a relationship, people. And by simply explaining this procedure to them, I sent a message to my kids that I cared, that how they are feeling is important to me. How many of you have ever had a kid come into your 4th hour class set off by another teacher in the 3rd hour class? And they come in and they're all mad and they're fired up and they're frustrated. They can't learn yet. And I know you want to sit down and go, I don't like her either. But that's not appropriate. Not appropriate. But knowing they have a bad day helps me be a better teacher. I actually had them tap out as well. If we taught a really hard lesson, I'd say tap out on how well you think you understood what we just taught today. 5, I got this, I can teach anybody. 3, it's okay. 2, were you speaking English, Miss Stafford? So I had them tap out and it gave me a little bit of informal feedback. But learn something about your kids, know their names, treat them with dignity. I always thought I treated kids with dignity. But you know those kids you know before you get the kids in your class? You know, the ones you know their name, you recognize their mama, you know their mama's name. Because you were walking to the office to make copies and they're in there throwing down, or they're like, we've got a runner, we've got a runner. And so you know those kids. 1 year, by the Lord's grace, I dealt differently with a kid. Her name was Jessie. And I knew Jessie before she got to my 8th grade classroom because Jessie was often in the office and I would have to go through there to make copies and I would think, don't look, you only have 47 minutes, don't get involved, don't get involved, don't get involved. Because she was in there throwing down. So 1st hour, 1st day, I look in and I'm like, oh crap, it's Jessie. I am Jessie 1st hour. Lord, please give me the strength. And I don't know why, but somehow the message was treat her as if she's the best kid in the class. And so I smiled at Jessie, and she looked at me and went, what? And then when I was doing my whole, this is what the class is going to be like, and I needed papers handed out, I handed them Jessie. She was the only name I knew. It was day 1, hour 1. But she looked at me like, nobody lets me get up and walk around. But I hand out papers. I'm a little sarcastic, if you haven't picked that up. And so when I would make a funny joke, I would look at her as if to say, you get me. And she would go. But something about that first day of me treating her as if she were the best kid in my class and that I liked her most, and let me just tell you, it was a pure act. Because I was thinking, boy, when she throws down, I don't do good with girl drama. Give me boys every day. Girl drama pushes me over the line. I'm like, you want to go? Let's go. Don't you bob your head at me. Girl drama and I don't get along. But for some reason, I treated her differently. And I have to tell you, at the end of the year, well, first of all year long, the team decided I was the Jessie Whisperer because they would go, she does this and that's in my class. I'm like, I don't see that. I mean, she's not good, don't get me wrong. She just didn't give me all that she was giving them. She was saving her best for me. And it was marginal at best, but I took it and smiled and said, thank you. But when I called her down on something, she would kind of conform most times. And see, I made deposits before I made withdrawals. And at the end of the year, Jessie said, Miss Stafford, can I bring paint to class? And I was like, no, that is not a good idea. And she goes, no, really, Miss Stafford, I just want to bring a little bit of paint because I want to put paint on my hand and I want to put it on the wall behind your desk so you don't ever forget I was here. See, I was probably the first teacher who ever gave Jessie a chance. And believe me, she didn't do anything to deserve it. But she needed it. So that kid that's wearing you out, how can you deal with them differently this year? See, a teacher who loves working with this age group and consistently shows joy and enthusiasm. Look at the person next to you and say, joy and enthusiasm. For students, teaching and learning has the greatest success. That energy, that joy, that enthusiasm. I mean, think about it. If I'd have been at the door today going, get on in here, got one more presentation, you would not have been receptive. Instead, I smiled. I said, hello. Tomorrow I'll even be more on fire because you know me and I'll have more time. But it makes a huge difference. So let's talk practicality. How's your room set up? Is it set up to give you success? Is it clean and organized, or are you the hoarder of the building? You know, you've collected 47 toilet paper rolls as if we're never going to use toilet paper again because someday you're going to make an activity with them. You've had them 32 years, but you have not made that activity. When they put supplies out on the table that are free for the taking, you take everything nobody wants and you put it in your cabinet. So now it's in your cabinet, it's on the floors, it's on the table. You got to be clean and organized. It sends a signal to kids that you're ready. You're ready for the day, you got it, you're on point. Is your classroom set up so that you can teach and touch every child? You know those rows? They're kind of cemetery rows where everybody's headstones are laying forward, right? If they go all the way to the wall, you are not set up for success. If they go all the way to the wall, what happens is the kids in the back of the room know that I'm never coming for them. Because I would have to do the backpack wiggle. I've got a little bit of junk in the trunk. It's not exactly easy because my desks are close together. She knows I'm never coming for her. So she can be working on whatever she wants because her desk is all the way up to the wall. So is my room set up so that I can lean over and look at her? Can I teach from other places, or are you anchored to the front? One sets you up for success, one sets you up for disaster. Kids realize the zone of proximity changes the environment. See, when I have people misbehaving, which no one in here is, that's because you've got God, but occasionally I'll be in a room with teachers. I know you can't believe this. They'll be running their own little professional development over here, and it's got nothing to do with what I'm talking about. But instead of saying, hey, you, zip it, what does that do? First of all, it stops my presentation. Second of all, everybody else is like, what are they doing? I want to see what's going on. I want that. Instead, I just come teach from over here. There's an anxiety that raises, but the attention conforms. So zone of proximity, use it to your advantage. Don't be anchored to this podium, high school teachers. I know, you were impressed with the college lecturing people that had the fancy podium. It doesn't set you up for success in a K-12 world. So walk your room, set it up, be able to teach and touch every kid. Always moving. Now, some of you are thinking, my room's not big enough, I can't do that. What kind of world does she think we live in? Have faith, right? But, teach for what you want to happen, but reevaluate your room. Because most teachers who tell me they don't have room to spread their desk out and be able to walk around, they have the fortress. You know what I'm talking about? It's the desk with the extra long table, with the short long table, and they've got the refrigerator, the coffee pot, everything. And this is the teacher zone. Nobody enters the teacher zone. And it takes up 1/3 of the classroom. Move your desk against the wall. You're not going to sit at it while kids are in there anyway. Get rid of some of the extra stuff. Make it where you can work the room for success. What are rules and procedures? Well, rules, less is best. Procedures, those are the things that give you organization, teacher control. So, in my classroom, I had a mascot. Be careful when you pick a theme character, because that's all you'll get for gifts for the rest of your career. So Scooby-Doo was my guy, because he was brave even though he was scared. And so Scooby-Doo was my guy, and so I had 3 rules, and they were called do's. Do what's right, do your best, do treat others as you want to be treated. I put each rule on the board the first day of school, and I let kids tell me what that looked like, sound like, and feel like. They could show me how everything that ever irritates you about kids could be morphed into those 3 rules. And I have a 4-foot Scooby-Doo if you ever want one. But procedures, that's where the money is. That's the money game. That's what keeps your sanity. How you pass in papers, how you move around the room, when you ask questions, when you go to the bathroom, that kind of thing. And I know that I could give you 107 ideas, but I also know the people in this room have really smart ideas as well. And so we're going to talk about that in just a second, but I want to teach you that just because you didn't get a good rule or technique, I mean, it's a few months in and you're thinking, oh, I did not teach them how to pass in papers and it's a hot mess. Or I did not teach them that being tardy is not sliding in like it's home when the bell rings. Like, you got to have some rules and procedures. You've had a break, come back in, use a re-teachable moment. Nothing, no shame in the game of starting a new rule or procedure. First and second and third year teachers, hear me, there's no shame in the game for starting a new procedure. I'll never forget my first year, I had this whole system for teaching spelling. Like, we had these books, we had these days, we had these activities. I had over-planned it out. It was sucking the life out of my classroom. So I walked in one day and I said, okay, I know I've spent 8 weeks showing you how to do the spelling, procedures, and routines. But let's just scratch all that. We're going to try something new because that wasn't working. And they went, well, finally, you noticed. They were all in. I showed weakness, I showed mistakes, and I showed how to overcome them. That's a better teaching moment than the teachers of the past who said, I know all the answers. There is no shame in changing a rule and procedure that's not working. Don't stick to something that is not working because it will wear you out. Other tip for my first-year teachers, right before spring break, write yourself a letter about all the things that are driving you crazy in your classroom. Because all those rules and procedures, they were like, I don't care if they're in their seats when the bell rings. Now they'll be wearing you out in March, right? And so write yourself a letter and then seal it. And then in August next year, open it back up and read it. And that'll make you stick to some of those rules and procedures that you let fall by the wayside. It's a really good procedure. So the first thing I want you to do when teaching a procedure, there's a pre-step to Harry Wong's 3 steps. It's called sell it. Look at the person next to you and say, sell it. Repeat after me. Look at your partner. Repeat after me. You are nothing. If you're not, the best used car salesman. You gotta sell it if you want kids to do it. Why is this procedure a procedure? What is it bringing to your classroom? What is it fixing? Tell them that information. Then start Harry Wong's 3 steps. He says, teach it, rehearse it, reinforce it. Repeat it. Teach it, rehearse it, reinforce it. Now, let me just be really honest with you. Elementary teachers, you are really good at 1 and 2. You let 3 fall by the wayside. And if you don't believe me, walk into any classroom that I've ever observed, a half of them, when they go 1, 2, 3, kids are supposed to say, and so they say, 1, 2, 3, and the kids are like, eyes on me, right? They're not looking at nobody, and the teacher's like, okay, we'll begin. You just said eyes on me, but nobody's looking at you, right? Or my other favorite for elementary is, friends, we're waiting. And friend says, good, because I'm talking. Friends, we're not waiting, we've got to go. Right? And high school teachers, let's be honest. You do number 1 and 3, but you skip number 2. You think line up? They know how to line up. Well, have you seen high school kids line up? I got kindergartners that can outline them up any day of the week. You want kids to pass in papers? You're like, they passed in papers before. Yeah, they have. They beat each other on the head with them. They irritate, they poke. Teach them how to hand in papers. In fact, I had people pass in their papers sideways in my class instead of forward. And I told the person on the end, just leave the pile on your desk. I'll come by and get it. And don't hold up and go, Miss Stafford, you forgot. I'll get up there. Just chill, right? So teach, rehearse, reinforce. All 3 steps are important. You sell it, then you show them how, then you make them do it without your content in it. It is hard to teach kids how to move from center to center when you're trying to get to PE on time. You should not be running centers until you practice moving from center to center. You do a pretend center rotation. Kids will go, oh, what are we doing? Just pretend. Oh, okay. And then you say, everybody stand up, everybody clap twice, everybody move to the right. And then they get used to doing it, and it becomes like this. And that's why you can walk in a really well-managed first grade classroom, and you're like, did they go to boot camp? What did they do? Like, they are so on. Because they rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. But if you rehearse, but you don't reinforce, then you send a signal to your kids that it doesn't matter if you really do it or not. It was just a show. And they don't know the difference between when an administrator walks in your room and when they don't. Like, okay, rehearse. Like, do it now. No, it's too late. Once you get it going, whatever way it is, that's the way they're going to do it. So, 3 rules. Teach it. And there's one pre-step. Sell it like a good car salesman. All right, so let's talk about some of these procedures that will make a difference, right? Everybody put your pencils and your pen down. Stand up. And you're going to have to get out your aisles. So we're going to need down here, front, so you're going to have to be able to move around. So everybody move. Get out of your aisles. I know, I'm making you move. High school teachers are like, I hate these sessions. Elementary teachers are like, oh, we get to talk. Get out of the aisles, get out of the aisles. So let's do it this way. And I know some of you teach several grades, and that's okay. Just pick the grade you want to talk to. So we got a signal. Ready? If you're high school, you're going to put your hands up. Both hands, like your party. Okay. You're high school. If you are elementary, you're going to do like this. It's going to be blinkers, 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 blinkers. If you're middle school, you're going to do like this. Crazy, 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 crazy. So, you're going to have to find another partner that teaches what you teach. So that's why you need hand signals, because that's how you're going to find your other person. So if you're high school, walk around, find another high school person. Once you find them, they're your partner. If you're middle school, you're going to find another middle school person. All right. So, here we go. You and your partner. What do we do when we enter the classroom? Should we read the board, walk around, read a book, sharpen pencils, or just talk? Middle school, high school, if you don't like that prompt, then you can talk about what is tardy in your room. Go. Discuss your procedure. You can join in another group if you want. One, two, three. Thank you. 1, 2, 3. New prompt. What signal will be used to get their attention when working or talking? How do we know to get quiet and get focused? Go. Holy moly. Holy moly. End of the day. Do you run and get your stuff? Or it's the end of the hour? Do you run and get your stuff? Do you zip up your backpack 12 minutes before the end of the time? What do? Go. If you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap 2 times. Last one, pick one. You and your partner discuss anything on the list. You can talk about something different or the same. Go.
Once you're finished, high five your partner, go back to your seat.
So I've given you a lot more ideas, rules, and procedures in the PowerPoint that I won't be able to get to, but I want to talk discipline for just a second. First of all, Annette Bro is a friend of mine, and I think this is such a remarkable quote that goes around the internet about every week, and it's so true. Remember, everyone in the classroom has a story that leads to misbehavior or defiance. 9 times out of 10, the story of misbehavior won't make you angry. It'll break your heart. Most of the time when kids are misbehaving, there's something going on. And we've got to be aware of that. Now, your Jessies of your classroom, I know when I was telling my Jessie story, it spoke to some of you. You can see that kid's face. I'm going to challenge a 10-day deposit with that kid. Going back to school, I'd like you to make a 10-day deposit in that kid's life. And this is how it works. For 10 days, you're going to talk to that student about anything for 2 to 3 minutes, but not school. So it can be about faith. It can be about your struggles that you had at that age. It can be about the weather. It can be about their cat, their dog, their sports team. Find out information. Don't lecture them, listen. And here's what I tell teachers. Don't school this. In other words, don't go, I went to a conference the other day, and they said I should have a 10-day deposit. So for 10 days, I'd like you to report to me at the beginning of the hour. And we're going to set a timer for 2 minutes. And we're going to talk about stuff, and it's not going to be about school, okay? And then you mark it on a list. And it's not going to build a relationship, people. You're going to have to be very casual about it, cool about it. You might see them in the lunchroom at breakfast time, and you just go stand by them. And at first, they're going to look at you like, why are you standing by me? And you're just going to go, what'd you do last night? They're like, nothing. You go, well, I've heard, like, there was a game last night. Did you go to the game? Yeah. Who won? Oh, we did. And you just kind of kill it for 2 minutes. Then the next day, you don't stand near them at the lunchroom because they're like, dude, like every day? Like, you wait. And that day, as they're walking in class, you're like, hey, how's it going? And they're like, whatever. And then you're like, guess what I did last night? Last night, I went down to the Dave & Buster's, and do you know they give you tokens, and you can play games like this, like while you're waiting for your food. And they're like, no, I've never been there. Is it cool? Yeah, and the food's really good too. And like you can have a conversation with them. And then the next day it gets a little easier, a little easier, a little easier. But it's casual and it's easy. And you listen and you share and you build a relationship. I promise you, your problems with that kid will not get worse because of the 10-day deposit. More than likely, they'll get better because they'll tolerate you more or you'll tolerate them more. One of those two things happens. 10-day deposit. Also, be careful not to give your power away. Sending kids out of the room when they're the bad kids, that just tells them if they don't want to be in your room to do that again. Right? So don't let them off that easy. This is the best solution problem that you could ever have. And by the way, I go into greater detail on the slides and I give you all a copy of those. But I'd like you to think of the problem you have in class. Got it in your head? We're going to run it through what I call give a problem, get a solution. Look at the issue. So let's say it's sleeping, okay? Kids sleeping in class. Is the cause a procedure, an external, or an internal? It could be any one of those. Let's be honest. Procedure. I forgot to mention you shouldn't sleep while I'm teaching. It could happen, right? Could be acceptable in 5 other classes, and my class is the one that I don't. So I could maybe talk about the procedure, and that might make all the difference in the world. External. Is there an external reason why this kid is sleeping in class? Is it because they work until midnight? Is it because their mom works until midnight and picks them up from the daycare and then moves them and then they can't fall back asleep? Okay? Is it internal? Nothing going on, parents put them to bed at a normal time. They don't like history, so they sleep in class. It's an internal choice. What are you going to do about it? Well, if it is a procedure, you're going to practice or reinforce that procedure. If it's external, you're going to call parents. You're going to get outside help. You're going to close that gap. Right? You're going to do something to figure it out. If it is internal, child's choice, there's only one thing that helps it. Relationship building, consequences when you need them. Those are the things that will change internal behavior. And let me just tell you, one gets you a lot further than the other. Relationship building is always the easy answer to fix it. If I send them out of class every time they sleep, I've lost my opportunity to connect to a kid. Do you ever remember a time when it was hard to stay awake in a class? Could you share that story? Could you draw from the Word to help them get the motivation during that time? Could you dig deeper to find out what's going on? That is a window, an opportunity for helping a child grow into a better person. Take the opportunity, don't take the easy way out by sending them out the door. Let's do another one. Somebody give me a discipline problem you have in class. Giggling. Okay, and then we'll go with attitude. So giggling, let's run it through. Is there a procedure that I have shared? What do you teach? 6th grade, 7th grade? There you go. I could call that one. So is it a procedure? If I mentioned that giggling is an issue. Now, I might even play on, okay, giggling, is it proximity? Is it where kids are seated? That could fix some things there. But I probably don't need to mention that giggling's not allowed. All I need to do is say, hey, what's her name? No, don't give me her name. Julie. Julie, can I see you after class? And then and act like it's not a big deal. Not, Julie, I'll see you after class. That just says wall up. I hate her. So it's like, Julie, can I see you after class? Not right after she giggles, just when you get a moment. At the end of class, you sit down and you say, hey, I just need to have a talk with you. Like, I'm trying to get through the lesson. I've only got about 15 minutes to make my point before everybody's got to get started and we got to do things. I understand that you have joy in your heart. And I can hear your giggle in my sleep. But here's the thing. Could you hold that off to the first 5 minutes or the last 5 minutes of the hour? I just need you to hold it together during my lesson. That would make a huge difference. And then you could say, was something funny? What was going on? Tell me more. But then I just need you to pull it together because your giggling is infectious. Like it makes everybody else giggle around, which I love that you're infectious. Like we could use that like a lot of different ways for good, but not during my lesson. And then you just have that talk with her. Now, she's going to do it again. So then I just say, Julie, can I see you after class? And she's like, oh, crap. And she has to have that whole conversation. Here's the thing. What am I sucking up between classes of her time? So eventually Julie's going to get sick and tired. And I'm going to say the conversation to her as if I've never had the giggling conversation with her. So she has to hear it all again. She's like, I know, we just talked about it. No, we just talk about it again. Eventually, she's not going to want to hear the giggle conversation. And she's going to stop giggling. But that's internal choice. That's when that is. And I'm going to have a relationship building time with her. I'm going to go, you want to hear my giggle? Let me just show you what my giggle. Like, I'm going to build relationships with her because I'm betting that's an internal. External, it could be another kid causing her giggle. So there's another kid who she really likes, who's making eyes at her or doing something silly or making fun of you behind your head. You don't know. And that's why she's giggling. So really then, it's his problem. Like, because he's making faces at me while my head is turned, and that's why she's giggling. So she's going to eventually give clue to that. Or she's going to get tired of having the giggle conversation she can pull together. Now let's talk about attitude. Describe your attitude. Who said attitude? Would that be high school? Second? So, let's run it through the problem, shall we? Now, procedure, you might need to mention that your pet peeve is people who roll their eyes at you. Like, I like to tell kids up front what my pet peeve is, so they know when they push my hot button. So you might want to mention that, like, read a little storybook about attitude, and then everybody talk about what attitudes irritate them, and you mention yours. Don't look at her, right? External. It might be her mama that causes that attitude. Her mama may roll her eyes, or her sister, or something like that. Internal, it may be her choice. A little bit of both there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to practice or reinforce that procedure. If the attitude is bad, if we're talking back, disrespect, I'm going to call in outside forces. I'm going to call parents. I'm going to have that conversation with parents. Once you see her mom roll her eyes at you, then you know that that's probably not the outlet. You need to go pastor, counselor, something like that. But build a relationship. I want you to find a reason to like that kid. Like her more. Like you just love her. Because when you have a child of your own that rolls their eyes and has attitude, the only reason they're alive is because you love them. So you need to find a reason to love that child. What is she good at? Where can you connect with her about her hobbies or her things that she likes? Right now it's unicorns and rainbows, but maybe, because all second graders love unicorns and rainbows, let's get real. But maybe she's got a sport or a talent or something. If you can dig in and find something to connect with her on, and you share a little bit about you and your life, and you build a relationship with her, then when she gives you attitude, because let me just tell you, Jessie gave me attitude, then I would go, okay, I'm going to check my attitude in the box. Would you check yours? And she'd go, whatever. And then I go, okay, let's bring it down 2 notches, and let's have a conversation. The other thing I do is when I get very, very frustrated at a kid and I ask to have a conversation with them, I usually lean against a wall. This is my reminder to take a breath and like the child before having the conversation and chill my own attitude, because oftentimes kids reflect my frustration, my anger, my this. So when I look at you and go, let me just tell you what you're not going to do, and they go, let me just tell you what you didn't see, right? That's how it works. So if I lean against the wall, it makes my whole demeanor change, and then I usually lead with, so we need to talk. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first? Now, with boys, they'll go, I don't care, you go first. But with girls, they're like, let me go first. What you didn't see, where there were 3 other people talking, but you always say my name and never anybody else's name, and I've just about had it. And then I go, I hear you. And you're right. I probably could have called out 3 other people. But I was just trying to get you to sit down so I could get over there. And then as soon as I did, you were like, all attitude. And I see now that your frustration was you didn't think I saw them. So will you give me a minute? Let's have this talk. And she's like, okay, but I don't think you were going to do that. Give me a chance. Okay, I'll give you a chance. I just built a relationship. I said, I hear you. I hear your frustration. And we have a conversation. Thoughts, questions, concerns. No, you guys are like, you're 47 seconds over. You get on with it, lady. Sorry. Okay. An entire classroom of attitude or giggling? Talks when you're talking. What do you teach? 5th grade. Okay. So do you have them all day? Self-contained? Self-contained. We're talking all the time. So I want to say your rules and procedures have got to be taught, practiced, reinforced. Now we are now running uphill because the system has already started. Like the ball is rolling. So you're going to be like pushing that boulder up the hill every day and trying to get back control. So going backwards is harder. But let's say they're talking all the time, you've got to teach. What I say is, okay, let's set the timer. Let me talk for 7 minutes, and then I'm going to let you guys talk about it for 5. And so I start putting some things in place where they get, because 5th graders, they like to talk. And so I'm going to start putting some procedures in where if you guys will hear me and let me show you this, then I'm going to let you work in partners and try it. But if you don't, then we're going to have to do it the hard way. And so I'm going to do some tick for tack, but I'm going to start building relationships. And there's probably 2 or 3 people that are trying to control the room for you. Okay, so what they're going, shh, right? And so what you want to do is you want to look for who is like, do you have I'm going to go back to the basics. Do you have a seating chart? And do you have a procedure when they walk in the room to get started quietly? And from there, do you have your objectives and things that they can start on? Can you start some read quietly? When I say everybody read quietly and I've given you a paragraph and I'm not making you do it for 35 minutes, then I can walk around and use zone of proximity. Let's get it together. Where's your paper? Let's get it out. And then I may have to have some phone call conversations. What year are you teaching? 3rd year. So parent phone call, parent phone calls, parent phone calls. And I know they're not easy or fun. So, but if they can't pull it down when you ask them to pull it down, you don't have control of that room. So when you say, holy moly, and they say guacamole, do they get quiet? If they don't, then you've got to fix that. You've got to rehearse it until the point where they do it. If they are doing that, then you need to pull them in. And I would look for what I call chunk and chew moments in your teaching, because they need a little bit of information, then they need time to talk about it. And so, but I still say there are 2 to 3 kids that you probably need to call home in. So I'm just going to tell you, you've got a couple of people that are, I would bet if they were absent, it would change the way your room rolls. See? I'm not crazy. All right, so we are over on time. I'm so sorry. I never mean to go over, but that I couldn't leave that hanging. You know that, right? Showing your passion, building relationships, knowing your classroom procedures and how you want it to roll. Where's your hole? Is it selling it? Is it teaching the procedure? Is it reinforcing the procedure? Or is it rehearsing the procedure? Go back to basics. Solve those problems. Peanut and chocolate, peanut and chocolate, peanut and chocolate's going to get it done. If you have any specific questions, you've got me today, you've got me tomorrow. Come talk to me. There's more ideas in the slides that I gave you the link to at the beginning. I don't think I put them up there. You want me to go back? Okay. I will put them up there as I leave. Thank you guys. Go enjoy your evening, and I will see you tomorrow.
She's great, and I see everybody relating to different things that she mentions. There's pockets of laughter here and there. We're looking forward to tomorrow as well. What time is our next meeting? 3. All right, go and enjoy yourself before go. All right, we'll see you upstairs. She did model excellence, yes. Thank you.